This really should have been a movie I loved. Guys, how's everybody doing? Welcome back to the Christopher Nolan review series. Again, I'm sorry on the delay. Life keeps getting ahead of me with my job and everything. I'm trying my best. But I will say this. Shackle me down if you have to. Tomorrow, I will have my Tenet review. I will. I do whatever. Even if it's like late at night, I will do it. I promise all of you that, and I will try to have my ranking out before Friday or out by Friday. That is my promise. I promise you, no matter what happens, I will do it. No matter what happens, even if Red Dead Redemption 2 gets in the way, I will still do it. Shackle me down. That out of the way, here are my thoughts on Dunkirk. Before we even get started talking about my thoughts on Dunkirk, is that this movie should have been a movie I absolutely loved. Now, oh god, I will admit, I'm not the biggest war movie fan. I love the war movie subgenre, but I'm not the biggest fan of it. I love a lot of war movies: Saving Private Ryan, The Hacksaw Ridge, Braveheart, The Patriot. There's probably a few more movies I can name, but they don't come to my mind. I don't know if this counts, like, I guess Gladiator. That could be considered a war movie, if anything. And then I found out that Christopher Nolan directed a war movie about World War II, which is some of my favorite movies are based off World War II, because I'm obsessed with all that and all the controversy around that, especially Oppenheimer, which you'll see very high on my ranking for the Christopher Nolan review series. When you get the war subgenre, which I'm in love with, which has some of my favorite movies of all time, like the movies I just mentioned, and you get Christopher Nolan, who's in like my top three favorite directors of all time, that basically says, here you go, this is like $1 billion, basically. And I'm like, holy shit, he directed a war movie? This is gonna be awesome. But nope, nope, no, no. Well, with that being said, here are my positives on Dunkirk. My positives is I do like the take that Nolan does do with this whole Dunkirk story, where this whole movie which is a very interesting way, where it's a war movie, but you feel the Christopher Nolan takes here and there, where you could tell it's a Christopher Nolan movie, where this whole movie is where he takes three different side stories with three different characters, or different characters and three different side stories, where you basically to get the perspective, Jesus, of the sky, the land, and the ocean. Where there's Tom Hardy's character, where he's in the sky fighting off planes and fighting off people up in the air, and then you got people who are just waiting to be saved on the land and just waiting and defending themselves, and then you got people out in the sea also waiting out for rescue, and also going out to this land in Dunkirk. I like that take that Christopher Nolan does, where it's a simple war movie. It tells the story of all these men on Dunkirk waiting to get help and all that, but you get the different Christopher Nolan stuff touched here and there, which is a very unique idea, but Christopher Nolan does a pretty good job of just showing off the war and his own personal take on it. I think the action in this movie is pretty good. For this movie being a war movie, and a lot of war movies have action in it, which, of course, this movie does have a lot of pretty decent action, especially like the scenes in like the air, which I think to me are the only really great ones. The other ones are good, but those were the only great ones. But Christopher Nolan has written great action and choreographed and directed great action before, so that's no surprise to me when I saw that the action in this movie was pretty good and great. It didn't surprise me because he knows how to do great action in his movies. Some movies aren't the best, but to me, he does do a good job with the action in this movie. Really like the cast here. You got Harry Styles, I believe. You got Tom Hardy. You got Killian Murphy. There's probably a few others that I'm forgetting on the top of my mind, but those three especially do a pretty good job, especially Harry Styles, who I'm not the biggest fan of. I think that his music is decent and could do a little better for my taste personally, and I didn't really care for him in Don't Worry, Darling. That movie was fucking weird. But I thought he was pretty decent in this movie. He wasn't horrible, but I didn't hate him. I thought he was interesting. He did a pretty good job with the role he was given. But at the same time, this is Christopher Nolan we're talking about. He's gonna get the best out of him. Then you, of course, got Killian Murphy, who I thought his character was interesting and weird, where when we first see him, he's like sitting on like a boat or something that's like got shot down and is just floating out in the lake, and then they find out they're going to Dunkirk, and he tells them like to turn it around, or if they don't turn it around, we're all gonna die, and basically shit's gonna go loose and all that, which I thought was weird. I was like, huh, wonder what happened to him. But they show it in flashbacks, and they show some scenes in flashback and give you a hint what actually happened. But he also kind of describes it throughout the movie what really happened and all the horrors that he's witnessed, which is a very cool idea. And then you also got Tom Hardy, who is always great in a movie, and he never disappoints in a movie. But he doesn't have much to do, and he doesn't even have a name in this movie. He's just a guy flying around. They seriously don't say his name. And I think about it, I don't think any of these characters had names. Real positive on Dunkirk is I feel that Christopher Nolan does a good job making you feel like you're in the war, making you feel like you're in their shoes, making you feel that you're in the scene basically, like I said, like the scenes in the sky where Tom Hardy's shooting down these planes, like you worry for them, you see his perspective of like what he has to do, you actually feel like you're in the moment, like, okay, what do I have to do here? And then like scenes when they're getting shot at on the land, you actually feel like you're getting shot at. And then, oh god, what's going on in my nose? And then when you're out on the sea, when the waves start coming, you feel like you're moving and all that. Christopher Nolan does a great job making you feel like you're in the war, which is very important for a movie in my mind. If a movie makes you feel like you're in the moment, then you're gonna get a huge positive review from me because I love it when a movie does that for me when it makes you feel like you're in the moment. Which I feel Christopher Nolan does a perfect job, but he's always done that really for all of his movies, but this movie especially. Moving on to my mixed elements is that how straightforward this movie is. Now, this is Christopher Nolan's most straightforward movie, besides from Following. This is his most straightforward film that he's made in the last like 2 decades or something like that. And I don't hate that. I think it's interesting and it makes you just like, okay, here's your thing. It's about war and people waiting to be saved on Dunkirk. This movie's literally only an hour and 46 minutes long, which is actually pretty good, decent timing. But I do feel that there should have been more character development and more things added here to make this more of a Christopher Nolan movie, which they didn't do, and I don't hate that. But I honestly feel that when they were making this movie, the studio was basically like, "Oh, so you want to make a movie about where people are trying to get saved and all that on land based on World War II? Okay, we're gonna give you this budget. This movie should last the movie about an hour and a half, maybe. Yeah, you should be good." Now moving on to my negatives, and I really only have one, but this is a huge problem for me, and this probably will keep me from ever rewatching it along with my mixed element is who the fuck's the main character? Who is the main character of this movie? I get it where I was talking about how I like Nolan's perspective on the war movie and how he adds his own stuff here and there, but there's no clear protagonist. I don't know who I'm rooting for. Like, is it Harry Styles? Is it Killian Murphy's character? And with all these three other dudes who I don't even know who the fuck their name is? Or is it fucking Tom Hardy in the sky? Who am I supposed to be rooting for here? I mean, it's a war movie. I guess I'm trying to root for America. I don't fucking know. Who am I rooting for here? Some just random fucking people that I don't even know? I felt that maybe if they had more character development and mostly focused on one character instead of multiple characters, that would have been a more interesting idea and would have kept me like wanting me to watch this movie more. But without a clear protagonist, there's no one to root for, and that's surprising because Christopher Nolan, all of his movies, he has a clear protagonist and a character that we root for and want to see win. But in this movie, he's just like, Who should I make the main character? Fucking, I'm just gonna write down like 30 random characters and just have them have like each like 40 minutes within the movie. No, guys, this movie's okay. For someone who loves the war movie subgenre, I felt that this was a crushing disappointment. I went in with this movie with pretty mixed expectations because I love the war subgenre. You got Christopher Nolan together. That's basically Christmas came early for me, but I also heard basically negative reviews on this movie, and I was like, oh god. And then when I watched this movie, I was like, okay, it's a war movie. Some people are not into the war subgenre, but I am. But I watched this movie, I was very disappointed. And this is a Christopher Nolan movie where I don't see myself ever rewatching this movie. This movie's just not rewatchable for me. I don't hate this movie by all means, but this is never going to be a movie I ever rewatch. Maybe if you're a hardcore war movie subgenre guy and you want to see more war subgenre movies, and if you haven't seen this movie, I would recommend it to you. But for everyone else, just go ahead and stream it. What do you guys think about Dunkirk? Is this one of your favorite Christopher Nolan movies, or do you not like this movie? Let me know if you've actually seen it, what you think about it, and if you like this video, like it, and subscribe, hit bell notifications if you love this video. But of course, until next time, see you then.